Chen built his empire on precision. Algorithms that predicted market movements before they happened. Code so clean it felt like poetry. By 35, he'd sold his first startup for $800 million. By 40, his venture capital firm controlled assets worth $3.2 billion. But money couldn't buy sleep. Not for him. And certainly not for his daughters. The Manhattan penthouse stretched across the entire 42nd floor of a building Marcus owned. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Central Park. Italian marble, custom furniture, a kitchen most Michelin-starred chefs would envy. 12,000 square feet of perfection. And every single night, it echoed with screaming. Lily and Rose turned 4 years old 3 months ago. They hadn't slept through a single night since birth. The diagnosis came when they were 18 months old. Autism spectrum disorder. Severe sensory processing issues. The neurologist, Dr. Patricia Winters, sat across from Marcus and his wife Jennifer in an office that smelled like antiseptic and defeat. Their brains process sensory input differently, Dr. Winters explained, her voice professionally gentle. Sounds, textures, lights, everything feels amplified. Sleep is nearly impossible because their nervous systems can't regulate properly. What's the treatment? Jennifer asked, her hand gripping Marcus's so tight his fingers went numb. Management. Weighted blankets, white noise machines, strict routines, melatonin supplements. We can make it more bearable, but… Dr. Winters paused. I need you to understand. Most children with this severity of sensory issues never develop normal sleep patterns. You're looking at years, possibly a lifetime, of interrupted sleep. Jennifer's face crumpled. Marcus felt something inside him go cold and hard. There has to be something else, he said. Better specialists. Different treatments. Mr. Chen, I'm one of the best specialists. I've treated hundreds of cases like this. Then we'll find the one who's seen thousands. They did. Marcus flew in experts from Johns Hopkins, Stanford, the Mayo Clinic. He hired a team of specialists who rotated through the penthouse on 12-hour shifts. He installed a sensory therapy room with exactly calibrated lighting and sound. He bought every recommended device, tried every suggested method. Nothing worked. The girls screamed every night. High-pitched wails that started around 9 p.m. and continued, on and off, until dawn. Sometimes from nightmares. Sometimes from sensations only they could feel. Sometimes from nothing Marcus could identify at all. And then, 2 years ago, Jennifer left. Marcus came home from a board meeting to find her suitcase by the door. She sat on the couch, not crying, just empty. I can't do this anymore, she said. I haven't slept more than 2 hours in a row in 4 years. I'm losing my mind, Marcus. I'm losing myself. We'll hire more help. You can sleep in the guest suite. We'll soundproof. It's not just the sleep. Jennifer looked at him with eyes that had gone dead somewhere along the way. I look at them and I don't feel what I'm supposed to feel. I'm their mother and I resent them. I hate myself for it, but I can't make it stop. Jennifer, you don't understand because you're not here. You're at the office 18 hours a day. You escape. I don't get to escape. Marcus wanted to argue. Wanted to tell her he stayed away because being home meant watching his daughters suffer and being powerless to stop it. That his office was his own kind of hell because all his success meant nothing when he couldn't solve this one thing. But he didn't say any of that. Jennifer walked out that night. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. She moved to California, remarried within a year, and sent monthly checks to a trust fund she'd never touch herself. She called on the girls' birthdays, speaking to them for exactly 5 minutes before making an excuse to hang up. Marcus didn't blame her. Not really. Some nights, standing in the hallway outside the girls' bedroom, listening to them scream, he understood exactly why she left. The cameras started after the 6th nanny quit. Actually, quit wasn't the right word. She'd stood in the kitchen at 3 a.m., mascara running down her face from crying, and said, I can't. I just can't. No amount of money is worth this. She left without collecting her last paycheck. That's when Marcus installed the system. 27 cameras throughout the penthouse. Motion sensors in every room. Live feed accessible from his phone, his office computer, his tablet. He could see every angle of every space where his daughters existed. His head of security, a former FBI agent named Robert Hayes, handled the installation personally. This is more comprehensive than most government facilities, Robert said, reviewing the camera placement on his laptop. Are you sure you need this level of coverage? I need to know what's happening when I'm not here, Marcus said. I need to see how they're treating my daughters. Robert nodded slowly. He'd been with Marcus for 8 years. He knew about the nannies. 7 in 2 years. Each one recommended by top agencies. Each one came with impeccable credentials, glowing references, specialized training, and special needs care. The first lasted 3 weeks. Said the screaming triggered her own sensory issues. The second made it 2 months before Marcus reviewed footage and caught her checking her phone while the girls melted down. She'd turned up the volume on her earbuds to drown them out. The third actually stole. Small things at first, bottles of expensive wine, a designer scarf Jennifer had left behind. Then Marcus noticed jewelry missing. The cameras caught her pocketing a diamond bracelet worth $40,000. The fourth and fifth quit within days of each other. Just couldn't handle it. Too hard. Too stressful. Too much screaming. The sixth was the one who left at 3 a.m. The seventh, Kayla, seemed perfect. She had a master's degree in special education. She'd worked with autistic children for 15 years. She spoke to Lily and Rose with patience Marcus had never mastered. But after 3 months, he'd reviewed footage from a particularly bad night. The girls had been screaming for hours. Kayla sat in the hallway, back against the wall, hands pressed over her ears, rocking back and forth. I hate you, she whispered. Not to the girls directly, but to the closed door between them. I hate you both so much. Marcus fired her the next morning. After that, he stopped trusting anyone without verification. The cameras became his way of protecting his daughters. If he couldn't be there, and he couldn't, not all the time, not when running a $3 billion firm, then he'd watch. Every night, after whatever late meeting he'd used as an excuse to stay away, Marcus would sit in his home office with a glass of whiskey and pull up the feeds. He'd watch the current nanny, whoever it was that week. Watch how long it took them to respond to screaming. Watch if they held the girls with genuine care or mechanical obligation. Watch for the moment when compassion turned to resentment. It always turned eventually. His assistant, Claire, brought him coffee one morning and saw the camera feeds open on his computer. That's a lot of cameras, she said carefully. It's what's necessary. Is it? She set the coffee down. Or is it what feels safe? Marcus didn't answer. Claire had been with him since the beginning. She'd watched Jennifer leave. Watched the parade of nannies fail. Watched Marcus disappear further into work. The girls need you there, Marcus. Not watching through a screen. The girls need someone who won't hurt them when no one's looking. And you think that's something you can see on camera? He looked at her. I think it's the only way I can see anything anymore. Claire left without pushing further. That night, Marcus sat alone in his office, 3 monitors glowing in the darkness. Lily and Rose's bedroom on the center screen. The current nanny, number 8, named Patricia, sat in a chair between their beds, exhausted, waiting for the next round of screaming to begin. It came at 9:47 p.m. Rose first, then Lily joining like an echo. Patricia stood, moved to Rose's bed, spoke words Marcus couldn't hear through the camera. Her body language was gentle enough, but there was something in the set of her shoulders. Something tired and defeated. Marcus knew that look. He saw it in the mirror every morning. The email came from an agency Marcus had never used before. Not one of the elite placement services that charged $20,000 just to start the search. This was smaller, specializing in what they called challenging care situations. We have a candidate we think might be a good fit for your family. Her name is Naomi Williams. 28 years old. No formal degrees in child psychology or special education, but 8 years of hands-on experience with special needs children, particularly those with severe behavioral and sensory issues. Her previous family says she's the only caregiver who ever lasted more than 6 months with their son. Marcus almost deleted it. No formal credentials meant amateur. Amateur meant risk. Risk meant his daughters suffering more than they already did. But something made him click on the attached resume. Naomi Williams, Brooklyn, New York. Previous employment. Carter family, 6 years, 2 months. Reason for leaving. Child graduated to specialized residential program 6 years with one family. Marcus read the number 3 times. The reference letter was handwritten, scanned, and attached. Naomi Williams saved our family. Our son Ethan was violent, nonverbal, and had been rejected by every care facility in New York. We'd given up hope of him ever improving. Naomi refused to give up. She worked with him for 6 years, and by the time he transitioned to his residential program, he could communicate using sign language, had learned to manage his meltdowns, and trusted another human being for the first time in his life. She didn't just care for our son. She loved him when we'd forgotten how. We cannot recommend her highly enough. Marcus called the agency. Tell me about her, he said. The placement director, a woman named Susan, spoke carefully. Naomi doesn't have the background you typically look for. But what she has is something I can't teach. She sees children other people have given up on and refuses to accept that they can improve. My daughters aren't projects. No, sir. They're children who need someone who won't quit. Marcus scheduled the interview for that Friday afternoon. Naomi Williams walked into his penthouse at exactly 3 p.m. She wore simple black pants, a white button-down shirt, and carried nothing but a small purse. She was black, which Marcus noticed only because he knew it would matter to some people. His mother, for one, who'd made pointed comments about cultural compatibility when she'd seen previous caregivers. Marcus didn't care. He cared if she could help his daughters. Ms. Williams, he said, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. Naomi is fine, she said. Her voice was soft, but steady. Your resume says you spent 6 years with one family. Yes, sir. The Carters. That's unusual in this field. Most people quit. Why didn't you? Naomi met his eyes directly. Because quitting would have meant accepting that Ethan couldn't grow. I don't believe in accepting that. Marcus pulled up a document on his laptop. My daughters have severe autism with sensory processing disorder. They don't sleep. They scream every night. The specialists say they'll never develop normal sleep patterns. 8 nannies have quit in 2 years. I read your family profile, Naomi said calmly. And you still want this position? I want to help your daughters. If you'll let me. Marcus studied her. No nervousness. No overselling herself. Just quiet certainty. What makes you think you can do what specialists couldn't? I don't think I know more than specialists, Mr. Chen. But I know specialists see disorders. I see children. That's not an answer. It's the only answer that matters. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. Irritation, maybe. Or something like recognition. I have cameras throughout the house, he said. You'll be recorded at all times. I understand. I'll be watching the footage every night. Okay. If I see anything I don't like, you should fire me immediately, Naomi finished. Your daughter's safety comes first. Marcus sat back. The pay is $75,000 a year, plus health benefits and housing if you want to live in the staff quarters. I appreciate the housing offer, but I'll keep my apartment in Brooklyn. I think it's important to have space that's just mine. The hours are unpredictable. Night screaming can start any time. I'll manage. Why do you want this job, Ms. Williams? Naomi was quiet for a moment. Then she said, because children who can't sleep are children who can't feel safe. And every child deserves to feel safe. Marcus hired her on the spot. She started Monday. CTA number 1. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Naomi's first night, Marcus watched from his office. The camera showed her entering the girls' bedroom at 7:30 p.m. Lily and Rose sat on the floor, surrounded by toys they weren't playing with. They rocked slightly, a self-soothing behavior the therapist said was common. Naomi didn't approach them immediately. She sat down on the floor about 6 feet away, close enough to be present, far enough not to crowd their space. She didn't speak, didn't try to engage, just sat there. Marcus frowned. The therapist's protocol said immediate structured engagement. Greet the children. Establish routine. Begin the pre-bedtime sequence. Naomi did none of that. She just sat, watching them with calm attention. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Finally, Rose glanced at her. Just a quick look, then back to her rocking. Naomi smiled slightly, but didn't move. Lily looked next. Longer this time. Hi, Lily, Naomi said softly. Hi, Rose. I'm Naomi. I'm going to be here with you for a while. The girls didn't respond. I'm not going to touch you unless you want me to, Naomi continued. And I'm not going to make you talk to me. I'm just going to sit here. Is that okay? Obviously, they didn't answer. But something about Naomi's tone, patient, genuine, unhurried, made Marcus lean closer to the screen. 8 p.m. came. The structured bedtime routine should have started. Bath time, pajamas, weighted blankets, white noise machine, lights dimmed to specific levels. Naomi stayed on the floor. Marcus reached for his phone to call her, to remind her of the protocol. His finger hovered over her contact. Then Rose stood up, walked over to Naomi, and sat down beside her. Not touching, just close. Marcus's hand lowered. Lily followed a moment later. She sat on Naomi's other side. The three of them sat there, silent, not doing anything, just being together. Marcus watched the clock. 8:15, 8:30. The bedtime window was closing. The therapists were explicit. Consistency was crucial. At 8:45, Naomi spoke. "Are you tired, sweethearts?" No response. "That's okay. We don't have to sleep right now. But maybe we could get ready for bed, just in case you get sleepy later." Rose stood up. She walked to her dresser, pulled out pajamas, brought them to Naomi. Marcus's breath caught. Naomi helped Rose change, slow and gentle, narrating each step. "I'm going to pull this shirt over your head now. Okay, there we go. Arms through the sleeves." Lily watched. Then she got her own pajamas. By 9:15, both girls were in bed. No bath. No structured sequence. Just pajamas and weighted blankets Naomi had arranged without being reminded they existed. "Good night, beautiful girls," Naomi said. She turned on the white noise machine, one protocol element she did follow, and dimmed the lights. Then she did something that made Marcus sit up straight. She pulled a chair between their beds and sat down. The protocol said leave the room. Let them self-soothe. Respond to calls, but don't hover. Naomi stayed. 9:30 came. The screaming Marcus had been waiting for, dreading, didn't start. 9:45. 10 p.m. Rose stirred, making a small distressed sound. Naomi leaned forward. "I'm here, honey. You're safe. I'm right here." Rose settled. 11 p.m. Still quiet. Marcus stared at the screen. His daughters were sleeping. Actually sleeping. Midnight. 1 a.m. 2 a.m. Rose woke up crying at 2:17. Naomi was beside her bed in seconds, not picking her up, just placing a gentle hand on her back. "Show, sweet girl. I'm here. You're okay." Rose cried for 3 minutes, then quieted, went back to sleep. Marcus sat in his office until dawn, watching that screen. His daughters slept through most of the night for the first time in 4 years. And Naomi Williams, who broke every single protocol, sat between their beds like a guardian. When morning came, Marcus didn't call her to complain about the protocol deviations. He just watched her wake up, stretch her back, and greet his daughters with a smile that looked like she'd been waiting all night just to see them again. Something in his chest cracked. He didn't know what Naomi was doing. But whatever it was, he wasn't going to stop her. 3 weeks passed. Marcus watched every second of footage. Naomi didn't follow a single protocol the specialists had established. She didn't use the sensory therapy room. She didn't adhere to the strict schedule. She didn't enforce the behavioral boundaries the psychologists insisted were crucial. Instead, she did something Marcus couldn't name. She paid attention. Marcus watched her notice that Lily pulled at her pajama collar when the fabric felt wrong. The next day, Naomi showed up with seamless pajamas, tags already removed. He watched her realize Rose covered her ears during certain frequencies of the white noise machine. Naomi spent an hour adjusting settings until she found one that made Rose's shoulders relax. He watched her discover that both girls calmed when she hummed. Not sang. Singing had lyrics, structure, demands. Humming was just sound, formless and soothing. Most importantly, he watched his daughters sleep. Not every night. Not perfectly. But more than they ever had. 4 hours straight. Then 5. Then, one miraculous Tuesday, Rose slept for 7 hours without waking once. Marcus checked the footage 3 times to make sure the camera hadn't frozen. Dr. Winters came for the girls' monthly evaluation. Marcus watched through the camera as she examined them, ran her standard tests, reviewed their charts. Then she stopped. "Mr. Chen," she said, looking up at him where he stood in the doorway. "Their cortisol levels have dropped significantly. That indicates reduced stress. And according to the sleep logs, they're sleeping an average of 6 hours per night now." "Yes, that's remarkable. What changed?" "We have a new caregiver." Dr. Winters pulled out her tablet, checking notes. "I don't see any new therapeutic interventions prescribed. What approach is she using?" Marcus hesitated. "I'm not entirely sure." That night, he didn't just watch the footage. He studied it. Naomi sat on the floor with the girls, showing them a picture book. Not reading it. The girls weren't ready for structured stories, just showing them images. "This is a butterfly," Naomi said softly. "See the colors? Blue and purple. So pretty." Lily reached out and touched the picture. "That's right, sweetheart. Butterflies are gentle. Just like you." Marcus rewound. Watched again. "Butterflies are gentle. Just like you." Naomi wasn't teaching them about butterflies. She was teaching them about themselves. He pulled up older footage. Found a moment from 2 weeks ago. Rose had been melting down, overwhelmed by something invisible to everyone else. She'd hit herself, sharp slaps against her own thighs that made Marcus wince even through a screen. Naomi had knelt beside her, not grabbing her hands to stop her, just present. Rose, honey, I know it's too much. I know everything feels too big right now. Rose hit herself again. You're not bad for feeling this way. You're not wrong. Your body is just trying to tell you something, and we'll figure out what it is together. She'd stayed there, talking softly, until Rose exhausted herself and collapsed against Naomi's shoulder. Marcus watched that moment 5 times. Naomi didn't try to fix his daughters. She didn't try to change them or make them fit into normal. She just accepted them exactly as they were and loved them through the hard parts. When had he stopped doing that? Marcus closed his laptop. The question sat heavy in his chest. He'd spent 4 years fighting his daughter's autism like it was an enemy to defeat, throwing money at specialists and treatments and solutions, measuring success in sleep hours and developmental milestones. Naomi just sat on the floor and told them they were gentle. His phone rang. His mother. Marcus, I heard you hired another nanny. Yes, mother. I hope this one is more suitable than the last few. Patricia from the club mentioned she saw someone. Well, different. Picking up the girls from that sensory playgroup. Marcus's jaw tightened. Her name is Naomi. She's excellent. I'm sure she's perfectly nice, but have you considered the optics? The girls are at an impressionable age. The girls are 4. They don't care about optics. But your investors do. Your board does. Image matters, Marcus. My daughter's well-being matters more. Of course, darling. I'm just saying perhaps someone with a more traditional background might be better received in certain circles. Marcus hung up without saying goodbye. He pulled up the current feed. Naomi was reading to the girls now. Actually reading, because they'd progressed to that point. Their small heads rested against her shoulders, one on each side. She looked happy. Genuinely happy. Like this was exactly where she wanted to be. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. He'd been watching Naomi for 3 weeks, 24 hours a day, seeing her with his daughters constantly. He'd been looking for failures, for moments of frustration, for signs she'd quit like all the others. Instead, he'd watched her bring his daughters back to life. And somewhere along the way, without meaning to, without even realizing it, he'd started watching her for different reasons. The way she hummed while cooking breakfast. The way she laughed when Rose did something unexpectedly funny. The way she moved through his home like she belonged there. Marcus stood up abruptly, walked to the window. This was dangerous. Inappropriate. She was his employee, his daughter's caregiver. But as he stared out at Manhattan's glittering lights, he couldn't stop thinking about the way Naomi had looked at his daughters that afternoon, like they were the most precious things in the world. When was the last time someone had looked at him like that? When was the last time he'd let anyone close enough to try? Thursday night. Marcus sat in his office reviewing acquisition papers for a biotech startup. The numbers blurred. His mind was somewhere else. His phone lit up with a motion alert. Girl's bedroom. 11:47 p.m. He opened the app, expecting to see Naomi responding to one of the girls waking up. What he saw instead made his heart stop. Both beds were empty. Marcus's throat closed. His first thought was panic. Something happened. An emergency. Where are they? Then he saw movement near the closet. Naomi knelt on the floor, reaching under Lily's bed. Both girls stood beside her, watching. Marcus zoomed in. Naomi pulled something out. A stuffed animal, worn and dirty, shoved far back under the bed frame. Then she reached under Rose's bed. Another stuffed animal. Same condition. She sat back on her heels, holding both toys, examining them in the dim nightlight glow. Marcus couldn't hear what she said, but he watched her lips move. Watched her show the toys to the girls. Lily pointed at something on one toy. Naomi nodded, touching the same spot. Then she stood up and left the room, both girls following her. Marcus switched camera views, tracking their movement. They went to the kitchen. Naomi turned on the light. She filled the sink with warm water and gentle soap. Then she sat at the kitchen island with both stuffed animals and began washing them carefully. The girls climbed onto stools, watching. Marcus leaned closer to his screen. Naomi talked while she worked, her mouth moving constantly. The girls didn't respond, but they were engaged, focused, present in a way they rarely were. 20 minutes later, Naomi dried both toys with a towel. She examined them under the kitchen lights, showed them to the girls. Then she did something that made Marcus's breath catch. She carried the toys to the dryer, placed them inside with dryer balls, and started a low-heat cycle. The girls stood in front of the dryer, watching through the glass door as their stuffed animals tumbled. Naomi sat on the floor beside them, put her arms around both their small shoulders. Marcus could see her lips moving, see the girls nodding. 45 minutes passed. The dryer finished. Naomi pulled out both toys, now clean, fluffy, restored. She handed one to Lily, one to Rose. Both girls clutched them against their chests. Then Naomi led them back to their bedroom. Marcus switched to that camera. Naomi tucked each girl into bed. But this time, the stuffed animals went with them, not hidden under the beds, in their arms. "Good night, my sweet girls," Naomi said. She started to leave. Rose's small voice stopped her. Quiet, barely audible through the camera, but real. "Stay." Marcus's hand flew to his mouth. Rose had said a word. His daughter, who rarely spoke, who the speech therapist said might never develop typical language, had asked Naomi to stay. Naomi turned back, tears shining on her cheeks even in the dim light. "Of course, baby. I'll stay as long as you need." She pulled her chair between their beds and sat down. Both girls fell asleep within minutes, clutching their clean stuffed animals. Safe. Marcus stared at his phone screen. His daughters had been hiding their comfort objects, shoving them under beds where no one could see, where no one could take them away. Had previous nannies thrown them out? Called them dirty? Unsanitary? Had he? Marcus tried to remember, tried to recall if he'd ever seen those stuffed animals before. He couldn't. He'd been so focused on protocols and therapies and developmental goals that he'd missed what his daughters actually needed. Something to hold. Something that was theirs. Something that made them feel safe. Naomi had found them in one night. No, that wasn't right. She'd probably noticed them weeks ago. Had probably been watching, learning, understanding his daughters in ways he never had. And tonight, she'd given them back their security. Marcus set down his phone with shaking hands. His daughters were sleeping peacefully, each holding a stuffed animal he didn't know existed. And Naomi Williams, who he'd hired 23 days ago, knew his children better than he did. The breaking point came on a Saturday. Marcus had cleared his schedule, something he rarely did, to spend the day at home. He told himself it was to observe Naomi's methods firsthand, to better understand what was working. That wasn't why. He wanted to see his daughters, wanted to be present in a way he hadn't been in years. He found them in the playroom at 10 a.m. Naomi sat on the floor with Lily and Rose, building towers with blocks. The girls were focused, calm, taking turns adding blocks to the structure. "Good job, Lily," Naomi said. "Rose, you want to add the next one?" Rose carefully placed a block on top. The tower wobbled but didn't fall. All three of them cheered softly. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching. An outsider in his own home. "Daddy." Lily looked up, surprised. Marcus's chest tightened. She looked surprised to see him, like he was a guest who rarely visited. "Hi, sweetheart." He stepped into the room. Both girls looked at Naomi, as if checking whether this was okay. That look, that unconscious moment of checking with her instead of him, hit Marcus like a fist. "Good morning, Mr. Chen," Naomi said, smiling. "We're building towers. Want to join us?" "I don't want to interrupt." "You're not interrupting. Right, girls?" Lily and Rose nodded, but they didn't move toward him, didn't rush to hug him like children were supposed to do when their father came home. They stayed close to Naomi. Marcus forced himself to sit down, join their circle. He reached for a block. "Like this?" he asked, placing it on the tower. The structure collapsed. Rose made a small distressed sound. "That's okay," Naomi said quickly. "Towers fall sometimes. That's how we learn. Let's build it again, even stronger." She helped the girls start over, her voice calm and reassuring. Marcus watched his own daughters listen to her, trust her, depend on her in ways they'd never depended on him. The afternoon got worse. Lunchtime came. The girls sat at the table, and Naomi served their meals, special plates with divided sections, specific textures they could tolerate. "Thank you, Naomi," Lily said quietly. Marcus's head snapped up. His daughters said thank you now? "You're so welcome, sweetheart," Naomi replied. Rose reached across the table and touched Naomi's hand. Just a quick touch, then back to her food. But that simple gesture shattered something inside Marcus. His daughters showed affection now. They communicated gratitude. They reached out to connect. They just didn't do it with him. After lunch, Naomi took them to the sensory therapy room, the expensive space Marcus had built that previous caregivers had used occasionally. She had transformed it, added soft cushions, hung sheer fabrics from the ceiling that caught the light, arranged toys in ways that invited exploration instead of demand. The girls played contentedly while Naomi supervised, occasionally joining them, mostly just present. Marcus stood outside, watching through the glass door. "They're different with her," a voice said behind him. He turned. His housekeeper, Maria, stood there with folded laundry. "Yes," Marcus said quietly. "They love her." The words hit like an accusation. "I know." Maria studied him. She'd been with the family for 6 years. She'd seen Jennifer leave, seen the parade of failed caregivers. "She's good for them, Mr. Chen. Don't mess this up." She walked away before he could respond. That night, after the girls went to bed, Marcus found Naomi in the kitchen making tea. "We need to talk," he said. She turned, concerned. "Is something wrong?" "I've been thinking about boundaries." Naomi set down her mug. "Okay. The girls are very attached to you. Is that a problem?" "It could be." Marcus heard his voice go cold, professional. "A defense mechanism. If you leave, like the others did, it will devastate them." "I'm not planning to leave. Everyone says that, Mr. Chen, and I'm concerned about the dependency they're developing. It's not healthy for them to rely on you this much." Naomi's eyes narrowed slightly. "What are you really saying?" "I think we need to establish more professional distance. You're wonderful with them, but they need to understand your staff, not family." The words came out harsher than he intended. Naomi stood very still. "I see. It's for their protection." "No," Naomi said quietly. "It's for yours." "Excuse me. You're threatened. Your daughters love me, and that scares you because you think it means they love you less." Marcus's face flushed. "That's completely inappropriate." "Is it? Because from where I'm standing, you've spent the last month watching me through cameras instead of actually being present with your own children. And now that they're finally happy, finally sleeping, finally healing, you want to tear that away because you're jealous." "I am not jealous." "Then what are you?" "Terrified," Marcus wanted to say. "Ashamed. Heartbroken that strangers could reach his daughters when he couldn't." But he didn't say any of that. "I think you should leave," he said instead. "Tonight." Naomi's face went pale. "Mr. Chen, I'll pay you through the end of the month. I'll provide excellent references. But I need you to go. The girls will adjust. They always do." That was a lie. They never adjusted. They just got quieter, more withdrawn, more lost. Naomi's eyes filled with tears. "You're making a mistake. That's not your concern." She stared at him for a long moment. Then she nodded once, set down her mug, and walked toward the staff quarters to pack her things. Marcus stood alone in his kitchen, his heart hammering, his hands shaking. He'd just destroyed the best thing that had happened to his daughters in 4 years. The screaming started again that night. Rose woke up at 9:53 p.m., her cries echoing through the penthouse. Lily joined seconds later. Marcus rushed to their room. Both girls stood in their beds, clutching their stuffed animals, tears streaming down their faces. "Where's Naomi?" Rose cried. One of the few phrases she could say. "Want Naomi." "She had to go," Marcus said, reaching for Rose. She pulled away from him. "No, Naomi." Lily screamed louder, inconsolable. Marcus tried everything. The weighted blankets, the white noise machine, the gentle voice Naomi had used. Nothing worked. The girls cried until they couldn't breathe properly, until they made themselves sick, until they finally collapsed from exhaustion at 2 a.m. They didn't sleep. They just lay there, whimpering. Marcus sat between their beds where Naomi used to sit, his head in his hands. What had he done? The next morning, the girls wouldn't eat, wouldn't play, just sat on the floor, rocking, holding their stuffed animals. Maria found Marcus in his office at noon. "Call her back," she said. "I can't." "Yes, you can. Swallow your pride and fix this." "It's not about pride. Then what is it about?" "Because those little girls are breaking in there, and you're the one who broke them." Marcus called Naomi that afternoon. It went to voicemail. He tried again, and again. On the 5th call, she answered. "Mr. Chen." "Naomi," his voice cracked. "I made a mistake. Please come back." "No. The girls need you. The girls need their father. Not someone he'll fire the moment his feelings get too complicated. I'll pay you double. This isn't about money." Naomi's voice was firm, but he could hear pain underneath. "You humiliated me. You punished me for loving your daughters. And you taught them that people who care about them will leave without warning. Marcus closed his eyes. You're right. You're completely right. I was jealous and scared and I handled it terribly. But please, Naomi, don't punish them for my failures. Silence on the line. I need to think, she finally said, and hung up. 3 days passed. 3 days of his daughters barely functioning. 3 days of screaming nights and silent days. On the 4th day, Marcus got in his car and drove to Brooklyn. He'd had to ask his assistant to find Naomi's address. It felt like stalking, like crossing lines he had no right to cross. But his daughters had stopped eating. They just lay on the floor, unresponsive, regressing to a state worse than before Naomi arrived. The address led to a modest walk-up in Bed-Stuy. 3rd floor. Marcus climbed stairs that smelled like cooking and heard music from a dozen different apartments. He knocked on 3C. A woman in her 60s answered. She looked him up and down, his expensive suit, his obvious discomfort. Can I help you? I'm looking for Naomi Williams. I'm Marcus Chen. I employ her. Employed her. The woman's face hardened. She doesn't work for you anymore. I know. I need to speak with her. Please. Why? So you can hurt her again? No. So I can apologize and beg her to come back. The woman, Naomi's mother, he guessed, studied him for a long moment. Naomi, she called over her shoulder. Someone here for you. Naomi appeared in the doorway. Her eyes widened when she saw Marcus. Mr. Chen, can we talk? Please. Naomi glanced at her mother, then stepped into the hallway, closing the door behind her. How did you find me? I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't have come, but the girls, his voice broke. They've stopped eating, Naomi. They just lie on the floor holding those stuffed animals you cleaned. They're getting worse, and it's my fault. All of it. So fix it. Be present with them. I don't know how. The admission tore out of him. I've forgotten how to be their father. I've spent 4 years managing their disorder instead of loving them as people. You knew how to do that in 3 weeks. I still don't know how after 4 years. Naomi's expression softened slightly. Please, Marcus said. Come back. Not for me. For them. And I swear, I'll stay out of your way. I'll stop watching the cameras. I'll stop questioning your methods. I'll just be grateful. It's not about gratitude, Mr. Chen. Then what is it about? It's about you understanding that your daughters don't need you to fix them. They need you to love them exactly as they are. Even when it's hard. Even when you don't know what to do. Especially then. Marcus felt tears burn his eyes. Teach me, please. Come back and teach me how to be their father again. Naomi was quiet for a long time. If I come back, she finally said, things have to be different. You have to actually be present. Not just in the house, but present. With them. With me. This can't be about control or surveillance or fear. I know. And you have to trust me. Really trust me. I do trust you. I fired you because I trusted you too much and it terrified me. The honesty seemed to surprise her. One more condition, Naomi said. You have to let me help you too. Not just the girls. All 3 of you need healing. Marcus nodded, not trusting his voice. I'll come back tomorrow morning, Naomi said. But Marcus, if you push me away again, I won't come back a second time. I won't. I promise. Naomi walked through the penthouse door at 7 a.m. Both girls were in the playroom, listless and withdrawn. Lily? Rose. Naomi's voice was soft. 2 small heads turned. Eyes went wide. Then both girls screamed, not in distress, but in joy, and ran across the room. They crashed into Naomi with enough force to knock her backward. She knelt down and gathered both of them into her arms, all 3 of them crying. You came back, Lily sobbed. You came back. I'm here, babies. I'm right here. You left, Rose said, her small voice accusing. You left us. I know, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. That was wrong. I shouldn't have left you. Promise you'll stay? Naomi looked up and met Marcus's eyes where he stood in the doorway. I promise, she said. As long as your daddy lets me, I'll stay. The girls turned to Marcus, suddenly uncertain. He walked over slowly, knelt beside all 3 of them. I made a mistake, he said to his daughters. I sent Naomi away because I was scared. But I'm not scared anymore. She's staying. For good. Promise? Lily asked. I promise. Rose reached out and took Marcus's hand. Then Naomi's. Connected them. Something in Marcus's chest finally cracked open completely. The next 3 months were the hardest and best of Marcus's life. He restructured everything. Cut his office hours to 40 per week. Canceled unnecessary meetings. Started working from home 2 days a week. At first, he was terrible at being present. He'd sit with the girls, but check his phone constantly. He'd try to engage, but didn't know their rhythms, their needs, their language. Naomi taught him. She taught him that Lily needed warning before transitions. That Rose communicated through touch more than words. That both girls needed time to process before responding. She taught him to hum instead of talk sometimes. To sit in silence without fixing anything. To pay attention to what they did instead of what they couldn't do. Slowly, painfully, Marcus learned to be their father again. 6 months after Naomi returned, Marcus came home to find all 3 of them asleep on the playroom floor. Naomi lay on her back, a girl curled into each side, all 3 breathing in perfect rhythm. He covered them with a blanket and let them sleep. That night, after Naomi put the girls to bed, Marcus found her in the kitchen. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For not giving up on us. Any of us." Naomi smiled. "Someone told me once that children deserve people who won't quit. Turns out that's true for broken fathers, too." Marcus laughed. Actual laughter, something he'd forgotten how to do. "The girl's birthday is next week," he said. "I was thinking we could do something special. Just the 4 of us." "The 4 of us," Naomi repeated softly. "If that's okay." She nodded, tears shining in her eyes. The party was simple. Central Park, a picnic, the girls running through grass with their stuffed animals. Marcus watched Lily and Rose play, watched Naomi chase them, her laughter ringing out clear and bright. His phone buzzed. A text from his mother asking if he'd received her gift for the girls. He turned the phone off and put it in his pocket. For the first time in 4 years, Marcus was exactly where he needed to be. Not watching through screens. Not managing from a distance. Just present. Just loving. Just finally, beautifully alive. Rose ran over and grabbed his hand. "Daddy, come play." Marcus let her pull him into the sunshine, into the moment, into a life he'd almost lost. And as Naomi caught his eye and smiled, he understood something he'd spent years denying. Some miracles come disguised as ordinary people doing extraordinary love. You just have to be brave enough to let them in. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you love this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.